Welcome back to AI. That's Artist Interview, not Artificial Intelligence. This is a show where we interview artists. Joining us today is singer-songwriter Gavin Wade. Gavin, thank you for being here with us today. How are you?
Thanks, Nick. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, nice to be here.
So I have a series of questions for you. The goal of this show is to allow listeners a chance to get to know you better, as well as for you to share any of your work, upcoming projects, and new releases.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm in.
Who is Gavin Wade?
I am an artist-curator, and as you said, singer-songwriter is part of that process for me of being an artist-curator. I'm based here in Birmingham. I was born in Birmingham, here in the UK. Lived in London for 13 years, went to art college there and stayed and made lots of great things, had great experiences in London, but eventually came back to Birmingham. So Birmingham's really part of my DNA and in a way part of my values, part of my learning processes. But I make art in lots of different forms, and I think somehow song making has always been a part of that and has been interwoven into lots of different aspects and manifestations of what I call art, but I also make books and performances and sculpture and painting. I actually studied painting at St Martin's. I've made films. I've made a beer, even though I don't drink beer. I've made all sorts of things. I suppose in a way that's part of the curiosity of being an artist curator. And just to explain that a little bit, maybe just that idea of not only making art, but wanting to be part of the caring for and the collaborating with other artists to present and display and exhibit ways of making art. And sometimes I might be a slightly more in the curatorial space, and sometimes I'm much more in the artist space. But in my mind, I'm always an artist curator, no matter what I'm doing.
Do you have any current projects going on?
Yes, I mean, I've got quite a lot of things going on. I mean, music-wise, I'm trying to finish off the third album in this series of Songs of the Modern World. Volume 1 and Volume 2 have come out over the last 4 years. And this third one has taken a little bit longer time. I've got an exhibition in the start of April where I'd like to launch the third album and in a way, present all 3 albums together as an exhibition alongside another project called L is for Landscape that I'm curating with Division of Labour, which will be a new space in London. And that one is where I'll make an L-type display unit and display a whole range of artists' works around and on top of my artwork, which is a display unit, a part of an alphabet, an A to Z of display units that I've been making since about 2015. I'm artist curator of Eastside Projects, which is an artist-run pluriverse that I co-run with Ruth Claxton here in Birmingham in Digbeth. It's a public gallery space, and we commission a lot of projects. So I'm probably working on three major projects at the moment, and one of them involves music, actually, with the artist Seema Matu. Seema is forming a new band as part of the exhibition project. That sort of gives you an insight into some of the whirlwind things that are happening all the time around here.
Coming up next, we have Song of the Modern World, a cappella by Gavin Wade.
Have you heard Song of the modern world? 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 Song of the martyr world. You heard song of the modern world. Have you heard song of the modern world? Have you heard song of the modern world? Have you heard song of the modern world? Have you heard song of the modern world?
So that song, that's a version of the song. There's a song with a lot more music. You can maybe hear my cat in the background howling. The song on the album is a very different version, and I've always loved that version, which on Apple Music they called it a cappella, but actually we did call it the garden mix. And we can't, because it was recorded in my garden, and I loved the simplicity of it. That I just walked down the garden, sung this song that I'd had in my head for probably 20 years, and you can hear bird song and the sounds of police sirens going around in the neighbourhood, and then that beautiful bit in the middle where Paul has just put the echo onto the voice, and I just love the simplicity. And the repeat. I suppose I'm really interested in how simple can you make a song with with one phrase, and you let that form an emotional universe in the middle of the song. And I think that Paul did a really amazing job. All of the songs are made on our iPhones, just recorded on the iPhones, but that one was one of those songs where I just had a vocal melody, and I just sung it to myself, as I said, probably for 20 years, maybe since the late 90s or early 2000s. And it was really a prompt from Paul to say, I know you've got lots of music, and I'm starting this new record label, and I want you to do something. Can you send me a song? And that was the first song that I sent him. I just recorded it, sent it him, and actually then through that process I changed the melody. It kind of grew into something slightly different, which is this version that you just heard.
What is your earliest musical memory?
So I think the earliest musical memory is me dancing, and dancing as I don't even know how old, maybe 3-year-old or something like that. I do have some memories from that, some sort of 2 and 3 years old. And I just remember dancing, and then maybe I don't know whether my baby brother sort of came up and we sort of danced in a stage. We were like at a wedding or a christening or something happening, some kind of big family ritual type thing. And I always would just get on the stage and dance. Some of the family members started giving me money because I was dancing. I thought, this is great. I'm gonna dance even more.
What's the first record you bought with your own money?
Well, this is an easier one, because I really it's like one of those moments in your life when, again, I was really young. I was probably, 9 or 10 or something, but it was it's Ant Music by Adam and the Ants. And I bought it as a 7-inch record. I bought it with what I presume must have been my pocket money. I don't know whether I had to save up a couple of weeks of pocket money or something. In my mind, it was probably like 90 pence or 80 pence for a 7-inch single. I've still got it. I still own that record. It's an amazing song. And I think all of those early Adam and the Ants songs was like an awakening of consciousness to see someone performing in different guises, different personalities, and all of the rhythms and I didn't know that punk existed, and in some way this is like a sort of post-punk, soft punk version, but for me punk sounds terrible and Adam and the Ants sounds amazing. So
coming up next, we have Evolution by Gavin Wade.
Evolution. Come on, let me be the thing you most regretted. Feel it in my skin as I become rejected. Oh, you need to watch another dream I had. Watch it all turn back and be applauded. You can't wait for another lullaby to pass you by unrequited. Let it hold going up into one coalescing evolution. 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 Once intertwined, you be mine, undisputed. Take away my fears and all your love. Strip back and still complicated. You're so strange, I love it. Anticipate another crushing blow. Here you go, I deserve it. Let me be the one to make it right with some solution. Evolution. 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 Evolution.
So Evolution is an early, probably wrote it around 2010, something like that, when I had I got an acoustic guitar and was spending more time messing around with chords, playing with stuff. But actually, I wrote that song by listening to a Cat Power album, and one of the tracks is, while it's playing, I heard another song within it and would sing along to it. Every time I heard that song, I was then adding my own more words and changing and finding the melodies that were hidden in Cat Power's Evolution song.
Take us through your songwriting process. Do you do lyrics first, music first, concept first, or do you just kind of jam until you find something?
Yeah, it is. I mean, just like that idea of the Cat Power song, in a way, I suppose there's a few ways, and I feel like I've got to know them. So one of them is like hear something, and it can be a complete other song, but sometimes there's a space in the song where another song exists, and I read into that and I sing along with it. That's one way. The other way is a sort of just messing around on the guitar and just finding a few chords, and I'm quite a rudimentary, quite feral, self-taught guitar player. It's not, I don't really have that many skills at all, but I just need, sometimes even, I love the idea of just playing a song with two fingers, and it's just like it is three chords, and that's all it needs. And suddenly, and I see in a way he's learned that from other musicians as well, the absolute simplicity and confidence to just realize those little changes are enough to create a counterpoint and an echo of other melodies around them. So I really love that, just messing around and playing until something so simple catches my attention. I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do. I might record that just as a chord sequence. The next day I might come up with lyrics. Something might just emerge over the top of it, or it might take 10 years. So it's really very, very open. I have hundreds of recorded clips and bits on my phone, and I can go back to them, and sometimes songs emerge like that.
What is something you've learned about yourself during the process of becoming who you are as an artist?
It must be so many things that I've learned about myself. I think in some ways I've just learned to rely on my instincts and to rely on them, but also just to be aware of how confident I am, to try and do some double checking. So some checking around just because of my confidence, that I have to just check up. Is my confidence not just obscuring the reality of a situation, or whether something's good or the right thing to do? So I guess there's a bit of that. It's like understanding my ability to be able to respond and adapt.
Up next, we have Be Basho by Gavin Wade.
Paul actually sent me the music of. He sent me just the track, and it had this beautiful, uplifting, funny, sort of self-mocking kind of pop jingle to it, which I really instantly loved. And I had been thinking I wanted to write a song about Matsuo Basho, the great haiku poet. It's someone that me and Paul talk about and look to and riff off and rewrite haiku by him, and we've been writing a lot together, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to write a song about the life of Basho?
What are your top 4 albums?
Oh, yeah, this is such an interesting and tricky question. And it's like how I'm limiting myself to one album from the 20th century. And I think that's like, because otherwise you just get stuck in the 20th century, and so at the moment, one I'm going to go for is the Richard D. James album by Aphex Twin, which I think is probably 96 or maybe 97. So it's actually after I've graduated, after I've been married, just when I'm first starting to curate some of my first exhibitions. But Aphex Twin Aphex was such a massive force, this kind of cerebral, oral explosion of ideas and thinking. And the Richard D. James album was this kind of second wave of that. Before that album, everything is analog. And after that album, he suddenly has to reinvent the processes and the digital as a new era in quite an powerful, evocative, kind of futuristic way. So it's a kind of the invention of drill and bass. It tells you a lot about the 21st century that's happening right at the end of it. So when I get into the 21st century, it's like equally tricky. There's so many incredible albums. Probably as a counterpoint to that, and something I mentioned earlier, this the Cat Power album that has the Evolution song on it. It's called, is it called You Will Be Free? I think it's called You Will Be Free. And it is like an intoxicating, sort of mesmerizing, folky blues album. Her voice is just, wow. Yeah, check that one out. And then after that, I think I suppose what I'm interested in with a lot of music and bands and albums is the coming together of lots of different creative visions and forces. And so I think that I would pick the Sisyphus album, which I think is just called Sisyphus. There's only one album that they've made, and it's a coming together of three incredible musicians. So it's Sufjan Stevens and Serengeti, who I got really into Sufjan Stevens a few years ago, and then I realised he'd made this collaborative album. So it was with this other guy called Serengeti, who's a rapper, but he's very playful, fun musician, rapper, and then Son Lux, who made most of the beats and has more of a kind of hip hop background, sonically very complex but beaty, and then the three of them together is just this wonderful joy of like riffing off each other, testing each other. You can hear the three voices, and then there's bits when it's all together overlapping. You don't know who's doing what, and then obviously there's a bit that's very Sufjan, and then it's Serengeti rapping. And when I start, and then I've had a massive sort of love affair with Serengeti's music since then, and he's extremely prolific, and there's probably 20 or 30 albums. It's almost like every couple of months I just check to see, is there a new Serengeti song out or a new Serengeti album? And there always is. Yeah, so, and that one's, I think, is probably, 2015 time, something like that. So then I thought I should probably pick an album from this year, because in a way, this idea of the top or the favourite or the thing that's there, it should be right now as well, somehow. And I know that in a way you can access all this music all the time, but I just thought something just brand new that's really taken my attention is Blood Orange's new album, Essex Honey. It's like this haunting, gorgeous sort of riff on, he has this 80s, this sort of British 80s pop with funk and with all sorts of other things all mixed in, and it's just like this lament in some way to past lives and music and sound and just the whole construction of the album, the in-betweens, the little back and forths, and then lots of guest spots by brilliant voices, and the way that he produces it, brings it all together, it is wonderful.
Out of those four, which is the top one?
It's so impossible, isn't it? It's like you have to sort of think in your mind, why would you choose one? Why would you have just one out of all of that? I almost come to like some sort of zombie apocalypse mode in my mind, like that's the only thing that I have left. It's the only way to understand what's happened in the last 200 years of music, which is kind of quite a strange thing to imagine. And in some way, I'd probably pick the Sisyphus album for that reason, because within it leads to all these different types of making music. It almost touches on any type of making music that could have happened. It is very, very complex and sophisticated and digital, but also just vocals and classical sounds and all sorts of things mixed in together. So perhaps that feels like, yeah, I could say that's like the top album, which is also sounds ludicrous, but why not? Yeah, that's it.
Do you have any favorite movies or TV shows?
Yeah, it's a similar thing in a way, isn't it? It's like, it's so many. I watch a lot of TV and a lot of films. Probably even, I mean, since I was a kid, and I still love it to this day, is the original Blade Runner film. Is such a powerful guiding film. The amount of setup within it, the kind of interrelationship of society to the individuals and the idea of creating life that happens within it is so fascinating. I mean, this week I sadly went to the funeral of one of my school friends, and one of the tracks, Tears in Rain, was played at his funeral to try and, remember his life and deal with the complexity of what that means when you're trying to say goodbye to someone. And it made total sense. I was like, of course, yeah, there should be something from Blade Runner played at my funeral. It should be like that. That's always will be part of my life forever. And in a way, I really loved the Blade Runner 2049 follow-up as well, because it kind of honoured the original in quite an interesting way. Yeah, I mean, there's probably tens and tens of other films that I think are as good as that or maybe better, but in a way, I can't shake that off. I mean, TV series are like, I love trashy things and all sorts of stuff. I watch things like Cobra Kai. It's like this super trashy TV series that picks up on the lives of fictional characters from 30 years ago in Karate Kid, and it always makes me cry so much. It's amazing.
Coming up next, we have 66 Verses, Once I Moved About Like the Wind by Gavin Wade.
Shifts in perception, switching my phone from light to dark mode. Pretend artists cooped up inside with the maps of the world. On Instagram, every painting is a self-portrait. Rap practice, catching up with all my masters. Etna erupts in every breath, rumble and quiver. Thuggery and disorder, minority will never be tolerated. Mother's Day treats a rat-tailed cactus hanging in the car. Old enemies buried side by side, the DC universe. Hit and miss, fencing, kissing doubles on Coronavirus Street. Don't try too hard. The balance in between knowing and not. Milo raps, people of colour are colouring. Apprentice error, the Java's translation of Don Quixote. In possible positions we are assaulted, punch, kick, spat at. Kill the builder, police just need to just back off. Felt cute, might delete later. Sisyphus sits on his rock. A sensual world slips through my head, Kate Bush, yes. Family stuff, we gotta do this ADHD thing. Need to get fit to burn my lungs halfway out of Digbeth. Never correct me when I'm on a flow. Strap on if I'm even, you're always saying whatever I say isn't the right way. Old Drake track, they say they're doing all this and all that. 1994, St. Etienne's like a motorway, it's not enough. Memes die so fast these days. At the train station, the light strobe brighter as I run up the steps. Watching videos, 186 Franklin Street rolls down the block. Second album drops, a box with sound of its own making. The crowd get loud, a church, a mosque and a synagogue. Late to the party, Serengeti song Lux and Sufjan's demons. You sailed, you failed, adapting the machinery of global travel. So alive, cockles and mussels for dinner and tea. Vague island police attack women out on a vigil. Geronimo, once I moved about like the wind. From daffodils to deprivation, master of reality. The COVID arms, 13 people caught in a garage in Dudley. Outside IKEA we do the reggae click and collect. If you tell us the name of the person who took this picture, I like it. When Sue posts pics of Keanu on the ground. And the blood machine getting chatted up by all the nurses. Essential workers healing what's not right, one job at a time. Push the stuffing using a chopstick or knitting needle. Jumpstart jungle. Within each seed is a future tree. Penetrating fluid. How to be a good anti-capitalist. Maybe feral. Rhyme without rhythm. Life without rhyme. Eyebrows on mute. Twitch smile. Wave a hand and meeting for all. Pulling faces, a quiet Zoom call just with myself. Blood donation, I co-created. Problematic books, The poet Kurumi dies in Chinese prison. Electronica, concrete poetry and shopping receipts. Touching fish. Everyone has the right to not work hard. Tipping point. Rapid mass adoption of electric cars. Mutiny. People desperate enough to catch disease for cash. Feral beats, the sound of fresh snow as it compacts. 1 year later, hesitating over support for the living. Hiss and spit, we don't want to go to sleep and dream. Whistling birds, search vortex, hurricane, craftsmanship. Life shifts. Thomas treats the book as imaginative space. On the way out, they share a small truth. China's genocide, Amanda's power, 5 minutes of perfect bravery and poetry. Patterns in stone. I write my first letter to my local MP. Injustice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere. All your new rules, you'll never stop me singing my song. Fresh cat shit, the return of my senses after COVID-19. Old ones, new sounds, more NUI than ennui. Worst losers ever, splashing all over the other side of the pond. Peace and power, the pulse of the Fortec MF Doom remix.
Yeah, that track is a new. Still feels new to me. It's actually not. It's a couple of years old, but that's when I was listening to Serengeti a lot, and other rappers like Milo, like Rap Ferreira, and trying to listen for a. I was kind of thinking about all the writing that me and Paul had been doing, the haiku and the tanrenga. We call it tantwenga, that we'd write on Twitter. And I realized that and alongside that, I've been collecting this set of haiku that I call Endless Verses that I started in 2020. I've probably written about 5,000 haiku around about now, I think. So it's roughly 1,000 haiku a year. And I realized there's this, what I love about it is you're not really meant to, a haiku should exist on its own, which again comes back to this idea of layering and the relationship of one thing to another. But when you write a list of haiku, you can't help but read and connect one haiku to the next haiku and to the next haiku, even though you're not really meant to. And that's more like renga. When you write renga, you are meant to link one verse to the next verse, to the next verse, to the next verse. And that's where, and haiku is sort of plucked out of that as the first verse of a renga, which might be 100 verses long. And I've got this endless list, and I started just messing around with it, thinking, I bet you I could sing these verses. I could probably rap them. And how do I rap? How do I speak it? Is it a spoken word? Is it like a very musical rapping? And really, from listening to Serengeti and Milo in particular, they kind of gave me this, that I could just use my voice in quite a deadpan way, quite a straight way, no affectation, no accent, just my voice, not trying to sound like anybody else, just me. Then I sent it to Paul, and he added all of the extra music onto it that kind of gives it this other push and dynamic to it, and it settled on 66 verses was the length, and the Once I Moved About Like the Wind is a quote from Geronimo.
Do you have advice for a younger you or younger artists today trying to discover themselves and make it as artists?
It's an interesting one if it was for me. I don't really know if I would listen to myself. That's probably, I don't know. I did obviously when I was younger and decided that I wanted to be an artist and was trying to be an artist, then I would listen. I would listen to what tutors would say, would listen to what other students would say, would read what other artists had said. I don't know. I mean, I probably would say to learn, to know how much to compromise, how much to hold back on something, or what to demand or no. And I think sometimes you can have I think I probably had really over idealistic expectations of what I wanted. So I would make an artwork and it would have 4 parts to it, but those 4 parts were kind of equal and similar. And then someone would say, I would like to buy that one of those. And my response would be, you can only buy the 4 together because they only come together. And then later on, I would really regret that because I wish I'd sold that work and actually been able to sort of cover the costs of it. And in the end, not just destroy the work and throw it away.
Do you have a message for the world? If so, what is that message?
I mean, in some ways, the message is the art, or the art has embedded within it things that are messages. Like, it doesn't say that this is the message, but it has it built in. Like there's an artwork that I've made that was like a front page of a newspaper, and it says society falls apart, and that was the whole front page of the oldest newspaper in the world that's in Worcester, south of me, here in the UK. And I just thought, that's a great headline. But people should realise that society falls apart. And then a few years later, I was asked to make a flag for this very grandiose, beautiful, statuesque flag stand in Belgium, in Ghent. And I thought, I need a counterpoint, because not only does society fall apart, but it does more than that. It does other things. What else does it do? And the counterpoint was that society gets fixed. And so neither of those two things are the message, but it is that in between those two statements is the message. Society falls apart, society gets fixed. And that's what happened. I made one flag that went up that said society falls apart, and then a month later a new flag was put up that said society gets fixed. What I would have liked, which didn't happen, was that then society falls apart, gets put up again, and then society gets fixed. And within the phrasing of that, I think you get a sense that this reality that you're living in is constructed by people, by lots of people, for reasons that you may or may not know. And it is fixed. It is a fix. And it will fall apart again. You can make it fall apart. The falling apart might be the thing that you need to do, not the fixing. So it's this switch between these two, which somehow is within those two is this idea of utopia, is this idea of this impossible perfection that we want to live in, and that's something of my message. It is that there is a utopia that you can reach that can't be called utopia. It's called something else, but it's a more ideal way that we can coexist.
Coming up next, we have "It's Not Dying, It's Flowering" by Gavin Wade.
Buttons, noodle, brick. Artists run spaces and social media. The dreams of artists breed luxury waterfront apartments. Mendion's obligations, turning a tulip into a god. The book is Malame's dream of a total artwork. You is a bent eye. Natasha sees letters as objects or forms. Buried structure, a white plaque on concrete holding up the train track. Looking for the education needed to overthrow. Climb trees, race cars, fall asleep, make noise, break protection orders. Climb trees, race cars, fall asleep, make noise, break protection orders. Climb trees, race cars, fall asleep, make noise, break protection orders. Break protection orders. Break protection orders. Nothing does not belong to you. The sadness of girls, the Astor thanks Glen. We are the ink that gives the white page a meaning. In the stares of passers-by, a flowing stream in a scorched desert. Rip off degrees, he'll piss on you and tell you it's raining. Bring back the reclamation yards. Bakers, butchers, wheels, tires and chunks of twisted metal paraded around Jenin, Digbeth t-shirts relegated to gardening wear. The two craftiest players left standing. unpredictable scripts. You've got some bespoke woke going on. Love flat surfaces. In the sacred grove, I smell and remember the ancient forests of earth. Writing more in the manner of tanka than haiku. Carrying the own mosquito net to Mount Atsumi, pulling out white hair at the abode of illusion. The feeling of being targeted by intermittent fasting. Zigzag cobbles clinging to each other. Like their lives. Like their lives. Like the zigzag cobbles clinging to each other. Like their lives. Zigzag cobbles clinging to each other. Like their lives. 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 Hard rain on the dirty roof. She always gets the applause. How music works, I want to fill my life up with it every day. Octopus sparkle, it's not huge, it's not small, it's medium. New balls on jabur leans her head back and roars. We, the woodworker and I had a misunderstanding. Chainsaw and chisel, the feel of running water down his face, calling into church. Complex sounds, a set of short songs, as long as a tamrenga. The dark purple of my granddad's maxi, a finger in the door. Don't dog me in, she removes herself through self-destruction. A child of 5 weeping under a fir tree, the bottom of the garden. French police say they are at war. Vermin and savage hordes, we are all black. Getting up to clean at 4 or 5 a.m. The aftermath of petrol bombs at the bus depot. In that moment, when we need to face the urgency, weapons of the weak. Trace back to the forming of nations, the battered old print leaning on the bar. A wood chopper of Drenthe, Thames water faces environmental bankruptcy. It's not dying, it's flowering. 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 If you want to write a poem, use a few more than 10 sounds. I'd love to see that Nathalie de Pasquier show out in Aarhus. From alder to spruce, a complete wood origin declaration. 8 pixels on the eye of New Street, the world of themselves. 2 flowers in love. The torch cactus sends out a search party. Dogs are poets. Rereading an old text faxed to me by Yona. 4 ink time horizons, 25 signatures of 16. A 5-month walk, 1,200 miles along narrow roads. May I begin by saying that this letter is not a request.
I'd forgotten that this was going to be the last song, and it's so great to have followed up what I just said then somehow in the phrasing of "it's not dying, it's flowering," which is if you hear in the song, it's about the snakebark bamboo. The snakebark bamboo is not flowering, it's dying. No, it's not dying, it's flowering. Other way around, and that is it's this sense of there's lots of plants like bamboo or like agaves, which their whole life is towards a point when they will flower. And that flowering for me is art making, it is exhibition. They use exhibition as the culmination of their lives, and that is their massive experience. After they finish flowering, then they die. That's it, it's over. But it doesn't matter because they flowered. And they've passed on. They've passed on the seeds. They've passed on other things will be growing. They continue as the next growth. And I think it was Paul that pulled out that line from the song. Again, that's part that comes out of the endless verses. It's probably a year later that I picked. I think it's 50 verses in that song. It's not dying, it's flowering is one of the chorus moments. So there's there's 3 chorus moments, but each chorus is completely different words, but it's just approached like it's a chorus moment. You've got all these verses, and then one of the verses is treated like I love rap songs, and I sing the chorus bit. I don't really sing the rap. I won't really remember the words of what the rappers are singing. What I sing are the kind of joyful, the moments of the singing and the beautiful little melodies that happen in between. That is not really the rap. It's just the bit that actually makes the songs work. And so I wanted to turn something as simple as saying, the snake bark bamboo, it's not dying, it's flowering. Snake bark bamboo, the idea of snake bark bamboo being this repeat thing that you can just keep singing and singing and singing. And there's a few little moments in that song.
What is the meaning of life?
So you got all the good questions, haven't you? I've got, well, there's two things. Maybe there's two things that I could say to this. I sort of know a lot of meanings of life, but I'll just give you a couple. One is partly because of, I mentioned earlier, I ask a lot of questions, and I've done quite a lot of projects, artworks, which the question is the title of the work. So the book that I made with Paul out in Holland is called "Is This the Way the Universe Works?" So you'd think somewhere in there might be an answer, but I suppose I've just thought the one is the title. So I got the title, "Is This the Way the Universe Works?" It comes from something that Etel Adnan said, who is a great inspiration to me and a wonderful artist, and who died a few years ago. And so I wrote this haiku around the time of her death. So in the book it says 3rd of January 2022, and I'll read you the verse. "This is the way the universe works. A seed, a pea, a lentil, a hand reaching up from the primordial soup. This is the way the universe works. A seed, a pea, a lentil, a hand reaching up from the primordial soup." So that's the one of the 555 verses that are in the book. And the way it works is that I think in that one, I wrote the first 3 lines, and I would have posted that on Twitter. And then Paul would have seen the 3 lines, and then he wrote the second part, "A hand reaching up from the primordial soup." But together they make, not only sort of answer your question in a way, but they also give a sense of everything that's happening in the universe. In a way, that's the kind of why I'm really interested in haiku, that they have this essence of everything. To find a little way into the idea of that line, a seed, a pea, a lentil, that we can understand what it means to be alive. Like, then you would say, well, being alive is the reason for everything. It is the reason for the universe.
Pineapple on pizza?
And then there's that that question, which I think is quite Kurt Vonnegut in a way. But I suppose I in a way, I have heard over the years that idea that people are upset by pineapple on pizza. So the more that happens, the more I would lean into it, because it sort of it's irrelevant to me, apart from the fact that I do really love pineapple. I absolutely love it. So I would try pineapple on anything. So I have no concerns at all about that. You got to try them out. You got to go for it. And in a way, and I kind of enjoy seeing people hate it and squirm like it's some kind of, I don't know what it is. I mean, unless you're Italian, I can't really see how you can have any objections. But apart, who knows?
What are your thoughts on AI, artificial intelligence, not artist interview, in art?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, artists will use whatever is going on. So basically, artists have to use AI. Not all artists, but if no artists used AI, they wouldn't be being artists. So that's probably my first thought. My whole life, if you were a kid in the 70s or 80s, I mean, probably if you were a kid in the 60s and 50s or 40s or 30s or 20s, you would have come across an idea of science fiction. You would have come across an idea that you've got to the human beings are going to get to a point where we try stuff out. And that there's like the great dystopia and the great utopias are interconnected and intertwined, and all about how we pass on our skills and what our capabilities to others. And AI, AI hasn't got there yet, but it's not that far off. It could be quite, it's gonna be interesting. And so for me, you've got to involve it in art making. While we were making the Is This the Way the Universe Works book, and I was working with James Langdon, who's the graphic designer, and he's very much like in control of what happens in the book. And I said to him, well, I need 4 moments through that book where there's a moon. And so he was going, well, that would be interesting if I make AI moons and I drop those moons in, because we're writing about AI. We're writing about the alteration of human consciousness in relation, through technology. That's why we're writing it on Twitter. We're sort of aware of it. We're not like Basho walking through the forest and we write about the leaf falling in the forest or the sound of the banana branch and the ripped leaf. We're writing about it because we're seeing a meme, or we're seeing a video that's shared, or someone's written something on Twitter or on Instagram, or something is shared from Google through AI. That's a phrasing that we then turn into a haiku, because our natural world is this incredible complexity of artificiality that is around us, that we have created, we are in it, that it is the context, there is no escape, there is nothing we can do about it. It is already happening, it is around us. What we need to do is get a grip on some bits of it. And as artists, that's what you have to do. You've got to get a grip on things. You've got to take it. You've got to grab it. You've got to move it around. You've got to ask questions about it. That's the job of the artist. If you're not asking questions about AI, then you're not being an artist. So I just think that it's all the context. Context is half the work. And so you can't ignore context. AI is just context. It's like useful and useless and fascinating and scary, and it is all of those things. If I've grown up watching Terminator and Blade Runner, then Philip K. Dick and all the science fiction. I'm a massive science fiction fan, and so for me, it's great to see what happens. Maybe the universe ends within my lifetime, or maybe we get to this utopia. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm sort of fascinated to see what it's like. Hence back to that idea of just being a witness, just having witnessed stuff. That's, people should hold on to that a little bit more. It's quite important. So, yeah, we will see.
Well, Gavin, thank you so much for taking part of this interview.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Yeah, actually, the questions really bring out some wild stuff. Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners, and have a great day.
I glide each day. So many ways when we lose. Low, high, nothing left out. Then we find ourselves each day. Might not be the right one. It might not be the right time. Open up to find so many ways, so many ways. Win, lose, low, high, nothing left die. It might not be the right time. It might not be the right one to open up.